It was the 6th round. Joyce had no answer to his power. We haven't really seen that happen to Joyce much before. It was an impressive performance from Zhang. Now, after the fight, Joyce was asked whether he should take a rematch or whether he would take a rematch. I think he is wonderful, Joyce. We had him on the show actually a few years ago. Great character. This was for everybody, I suppose, just looking from the outside in the world of boxing. They would call it a shock, but how much of a shock was it actually to those that really know the sport? I've been seeing people on Twitter talk about it a lot. Let's ask someone in the know. talkSPORT's Fight Night host Gareth A. Davies is joining us now. Good morning, Gareth.
Morning, Gareth.
Morning, Laura. Morning, Dean.
Hello,
morning.
Gareth. How was it? Talk to me about the fight.
Yeah, that voice in the background was Marvel, by the way, Joyce's mum.
Oh, was it?
Who was standing there while I was interviewing him after the fight. Yeah, it was Marvel. She was very unhappy about it, as you can imagine. She's a bit of a character, is his mum. Yeah, look, it's a really difficult one, this, for Joyce. There's several things to really discuss about it. One, Zhang certainly on Saturday night had his number with the southpaw stance and that left hand creating angles. So he just couldn't seem to miss with the left hand. And Joyce has taken a lot of punches, even in the big fights he's had recently, where we've talked about how great his chin is and how he can come through people and rely on his chin. Well, he couldn't rely on his eyes, could he? It wasn't his chin so much on Saturday night as his eyes and that right eye closed. But he was lighter for a start than he's been in recent fights. This isn't taking anything away from what Zhilei Zhang did in what I think you're right, it's the upset of the year so far in boxing. It was a big upset. Joe was about a stone lighter than he has been, and I think he could put weight on again. I think he got too lean. I also think that he should consider taking the rematch, because at 37, I don't think there's another route back into the world title challenge that he wants, and he's got to find a way of yes, he's not a guy that moves his head a lot, but he's got to find a way of combating Zhang's left hand. He's got to use his IQ to do that in a second fight. I think he's capable of it, closing the distance early and smothering Zhang, but who knows, Zhang may have his number. But it's a very difficult night for Joe, because the route back now is, as I say, is very difficult to see for him.
I wondered as well the effect when it's the first professional defeat, the effect it can have on fighters. Do you know Joe really well? I was saying earlier on, we've only had him in the studio. I've met him a couple of times. I really like his character. I just think he comes across as such a lovely guy. I wonder what kind of effect it can have on his mentality and his confidence as well going into his next fight when you get that first professional loss.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that may work in his favour, Laura, in terms of his mental or self-belief, if you like, is that he was released from hospital in the early hours of Sunday morning with no fractured eye. There was no damage to the eye socket. There was no bone broken. So it was a swelling. It was a hematoma rather than anything lasting. I think that the confidence factor is whether he can combat that left hand, because from the first round onwards, Zhang seemed to be able to create the angles, just couldn't miss with the left hand, and it wasn't as though Joyce was desperately hurt when the fight was stopped. Obviously his eye was closed, and he you have to say he was battered by big power punches from Zhang, a 20-stone 6'6" man. I do think he can come back, and as he talked about there, he might need a fight in between, but the problem for Joe is this Game of Thrones, this chess game that's going on now with the heavyweight division. Are Usyk and Fury going to fight each other towards the end of the year? Is Fury out now till December? Is Alexander Usyk going to face his mandatory Daniel Dubois? Are they making a fight with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder? We don't know yet. Is all that stuff going on in the Middle East? What does Joe do in the meantime? That's $64 million question. And Zhang, of course, new star for the 1.4 billion people in China. That was his first pay-per-view event in China on Saturday night with the Lane brothers, Terry and Tommy. And he's called out Tyson Fury to fight him. And who knows, Fury might go and fight Zhang in Beijing next. It's difficult to know exactly what's going to happen, but China have got a new boxing star, and one of our stars, Joe Joyce, has somehow got to find his way back into this kind of group of leading heavyweights.
Yeah. All right, Gareth. Thank you for your time this morning, and speak to you soon, Gareth. Take care.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Thanks, Gareth.
See you later.
I was watching that, Laura, a little bit. I was cringing. He just kept connecting with his eye, and his eye got worse and worse.
It looked awful, didn't it?